Okay, so I'm assuming you guys can hear me loud and clear. Welcome to another edition of Ask the Candidates. And today's edition is hosted by myself and Mr. David Etim, Deputy President of the Calabar Chamber of Industry, Mines and Agriculture. We should be having this streamed live on Heat FM 95.9, if I'm not mistaken. And before we go in, I'm just going to go through some housekeeping rules before I introduce the candidates with us here today, and I hand over to my co-host, David Etim. So by way of housekeeping, you would have noticed that the chat on the Zoom conversation is disabled. And the reason for that is that, we would like you to submit your questions using a specific link, which will be provided in the chat. So the link will be dropped there. And if you have a question that you would like to ask any of the candidates, please click on that link and just submit your question there. And you would see other questions that have been submitted by other participants in this interactive session. All right, so this is being streamed on Zoom as well as Facebook and Twitter as well. And just to shout out to those who are joining us via those platforms. Now, if you would like to ask a question, you're listening in on radio and you'd like to ask a question, you can do that by sending a text message or a WhatsApp message to 0909 594 2401. So that's 0909 594 2401. No calls, please. You can either send a text or a WhatsApp message with your question. So we will dedicate the last, maybe half hour to maybe 20 minutes to questions from participants on the Zoom call. So if you'd like to put a question directly, please come on the Zoom conversation, and we'll give you the opportunity to do that. Now, when you have the opportunity to ask a question, we would like you to tell us your name, the organization you belong to, and we would like you to keep your question as brief as possible. So keep it to 30 seconds or thereabout. We'd also like your video to be enabled as well. And for the candidates, they're encouraged to keep their answers as direct and as straight to the point as possible. And during the course of this interactive session, we will be running a few polls, which would pop up on your screen if you're participating on Zoom. Please just answer the questions, and we'll carry on with the interactive session. Yeah, and I think that is it in terms of housekeeping. So today, just to let you all know that this event is brought to you by the Cross River Movement in partnership with the Africa Leadership Group, the Calabar Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, the Cross River Economic Summit Organization, and Heat FM, as well as other partners. Today, we hopefully should have on this conversation or this interactive session Ambassador Dr. John Oga, who represents the Africa Democratic Congress. And we have Senator Jaribe Agom Jaribe, who is representing the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. We have Mr. Gabriel Abbas Abuashe, who is representing the Social Democratic Party. And finally, the last but not the least, we should have His Excellency Senator Ben Ayade of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. Okay, having gone through the housekeeping, I think at this point I will hand over to my co-host, David Etim, to drive us forward. David.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Etim. As my co-host Bassey has already stated, I am the Deputy President of the Calabar Chamber of Commerce, and we're here to try and understand a whole lot better about what the candidates have in store for us in terms of their plans, their, what's possible for them, taking into consideration that everybody that we are addressing today is going to be in the legislature. They are not executives, so we should not expect them to be talking about putting in roads and things like that. They may do it through various other means in terms of like what they call their constituency projects and things like that, but it is not their primary responsibility. Their primary responsibility is to making of laws and guiding of the executive through a legislative process. That said, I would like to welcome the 4 candidates, hopefully. I believe what we have currently is about 3 of the candidates are here already. The 4th candidate being the candidate of the APC, which is His Excellency, the current governor of Cross River State, Senator Professor Benedict Ayade. I'm not sure he's here yet, but we hope he will join us soon. That said, I think we should give each of the candidates maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes to introduce themselves, introduce what they hope to, what their agenda, their legislative agenda, their prospective legislative agenda is for their senatorial districts. And I understand that being the sitting senator of the Northern Senatorial District, I would like to first call on Senator Jarigbe Agom Jarigbe to please introduce himself formally, and then take us through within maybe 5 minutes, take us through his legislative agenda going forwards, after the elections. And also because he's the sitting, he has the privilege of telling us what he's done in this current term as he is a sitting senator, which gives him a bit of gives him traction in terms of his capacity to deliver. So we have a bit of a track record for him. All the rest may not, apart from Senator Benedict Ayade, our executive governor, who is governor and was a past senator for this senatorial district. That said, I would like to call on Senator Jarigbe Agom Jarigbe to please take the floor. Thank you. Senator Jarigbe, please.
David, I don't think Senator Jarigbe is here now. Okay. Michelle, I don't know if you're able to confirm, but we can't see him unless he's come on using an alias, which prevents us from identifying him. So maybe you may want to invite one of the other candidates to start off.
Okay, so I've seen Ambassador John Oga. I saw him signing in. I would like to therefore invite Ambassador John Oga. And I don't know if Mr. Gabriel Abushe has been able to sort out his audio yet. If he has, please, he should please signify somewhat, and then so that we can be sure of that. But Ambassador, I invite you to please take the floor. Thank you. Could somebody unmute Ambassador, please? Or unmute yourself. Ambassador John Oga, please unmute yourself and you have the floor. Thank you. 5 minutes, please. Ambassador Oga. I can see him, but he's not unmuting. Mute, let's see. So could you assist in unmuting Ambassador Oga, please?
Okay, while we try and get him unmuted, maybe we can invite
Mr. Gabriel? Okay. Mr. Abushe, could you please take the floor? Hello? Yes, I think he's here. Mr. Abushe, can you unmute yourself and please take the floor? Ask to start with. Mr. Bushe?
David, it appears like both candidates that are here having difficulty connecting their audio, which is quite unfortunate. Maybe we need to give them a bit of time to try and sort that out. But yeah, this is quite unfortunate.
Is there anything we can do to assist any of them to unmute? Or to...
I think Dr. John Oga, I think, is unmuted.
Yeah. Hello. Sorry. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Ambassador John Oga. Good evening.
Yes.
Please, could you put on your camera? Could you put on your camera for a minute, even if you're having connectivity issues, but let's just see your face. Let everybody see your face for a minute, and then you can take it off, and then so that you can stabilize your audio better. But if you could just take off your camera for a minute, please, it'll be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Not able to take off your camera, let's not. Okay, you've done that. Okay, thank you. I think the video is causing a problem with your sound. Let's take out your camera. Take it off, please. We can't hear you clearly. It's causing a problem with your sound. It's interfering. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening.
Just go ahead.
Yeah. I am Ambassador Dr. John Oga. Actually, I am a peace ambassador, actually diplomatic peace ambassador, not a popular peace ambassador. And currently I am still one of the employees on the international diplomatic Gov. I am running for the office of Senator for Northern Senatorial. Are you hearing me?
Ambassador, are you in motion? I would have preferred if you could stand still, but I think you're in motion. Your voice is oscillating very significantly.
Actually, I'm having a problem that I had fixed 1 year ago, and it's just holding today too. Unfortunately, the program coincided with the same time with your interview. I just decided to respect the forum to come on board. Even though the program is starting already, and I am like the organizer of the program. So and it's once a year. So the program just started. So I just decided to respect this body will come on and speak with you. I respect you people. It was better last time that the program was fixed, but as it was moved forward, I knew that it was something.
Hello, Ambassador. I don't know, but I'm having major challenges with your audio. I'm having major challenges.
I think Gabriel Abbas, I think, has sorted out his audio, so maybe you may want to hear him.
Yes, I've sorted out my audio. Can you hear me?
Very clearly, very, very clearly.
Okay, this is Gabriel Abbas Abuashi. My audio is true now, but the video is stopped.
Don't worry. Let's focus with the audio, please. Let's focus with the audio. Not to worry.
Oh, all right. That's okay. All right.
Please go ahead. You have about 5 minutes to introduce yourself, introduce your proposed legislative agenda for the Northern Senatorial District, and then we'll take you up on a few questions going forward. Thank you. 5 minutes, please.
All right.
Edidion, please keep your time
Thanks
on 5 minutes. Please put an eye
All
on
right.
the time, please, so that at 5 minutes you get interject. Thank you.
All right. My name,
please. Go ahead.
My name is Gabriel Abbas Abuashi. I'm very concerned about the worsening situation in the country. That's the reason I'm running for the Senate, Cross River North. It's important I bring to your knowledge that legislative bills and all that I'm going to pursue in the Senate are not exactly the normal kind, like building hospitals, schools, roads, and the rest in the Cross River North. Why? The ship is sinking. We are in a deplorable situation. We are in a ship, a Nigerian ship that is going to hit the iceberg any moment and will go down. So I am a cabin steward that is not so much concerned with the state of the room as to the state of the ship. When I get to the Senate, I'm going to do my best to see that the security situation and corruption in the country is stemmed. For one, I'm going to be pursuing that the death sentence be introduced for cases of corruption for public office holders, particularly for those who are in the high cadre of leadership. For those who categorize as being in the middle and lower cadre, I will be pursuing for life sentence. And you see, that's what I think can help this country move forward. Then, of course, it's also important to note that the security situation that I'm very frightened about, that I'm going to be walking about in the Senate, is going to be stemmed only when we consider local policing. We have to introduce not only state policing, as it is said everywhere, but local government police and village police as well. That is to say, we have to create a fourth tier of government, the village. Now we have the federal, the state, the local government. We have to have the village as a government. And these 4 tiers of government, each should have its own police arm. That is basically what I'll be pursuing in the Senate. And of course, you know, the contagion effect. When a sane man, when a good man is among even persons who are otherwise not very disposed to altruism, they begin to simulate, to respond to the spark of goodness that is in all of them. I hope that God helps us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. I hope you don't mind if I just use Mr. Gabriel. The Abushe, I don't want to make a mistake and mispronounce your surname, because that's your father's name. So I will keep it at Gabriel, so that I don't fall foul. Actually. I don't fall foul of that. Well, I thank you. Clearly, you have articulated that your primary legislative agenda is to address corruption as a holistic problem in Nigeria. And you stated clearly that what you want to drive is the punitive measures you want to attach to corruption for the higher your responsibilities in government, the most severe the penalty for corruption would be. So a very high up political office holder, you would recommend a death sentence when convicted of corruption. For lower level people that are answerable to others, you would then also recommend life sentences based on conviction. Okay, that's very novel. Also, your concept of a 4th tier of government, which is the village level governance structure, which is actually something that has existed in the past. You know, where governance was bottom up as opposed to now it is top down. You know, so definitely these are very novel and very interesting. Not necessarily novel, but very interesting. I don't know if Ambassador has been able to sort out his audio now, so that we can then also give him the opportunity to address us. And I don't know whether the other two candidates have joined in the intervening period when Mr. Gabriel was giving his introduction. If I could be guided, please.
David, I'm not sure about that, but we have a couple of questions that were submitted or that have been submitted. So if you permit me, I could just put one of those questions across to the candidate.
Okay, please do.
All right, thank you. So, okay, so a question that someone was eager to get an answer to is, what areas of the Nigerian Constitution do you feel need to be addressed in order to enhance the security in our country? I believe you've touched on that as one of your points, but maybe you may want to answer this question specifically. What areas of the Nigerian Constitution do you feel need to be addressed in order to enhance security in Nigeria?
You see, there are two things. One, you know that crises are best stemmed in the bud. When they begin to evolve, you have to stem them at that point. The closer you are to the epicenter, the resources you can pull, the better for you. So it is strange that till this moment, we have not dealt seriously about this problem. Any area of the Constitution that will recognize, that will allow us to restructure the country in such a way that we have a fourth tier of government, like I've mentioned, and each tier of government should be viable. Each tier of government should have a police force that is answerable to itself and not to another tier of government. And they should be funded independently. When we do that, the issue of security gets a decisive blow. Again, you know that the situation in the country now where you have, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes. And you know that the situation in the country now is one of a degeneration of the national psyche. When you go everywhere on the street, you hear boys and girls idolizing people who do advanced fee fraud. That's what they love. They respect things like that. And the reason for that is because our political leaders have failed miserably. They have shown that, yes, it is a hedonistic society. Everybody now is fending for himself. The means does not matter. Get money or die trying. So we have to deal with the issue of corruption. That is what I'm talking about. Corruption has to be addressed. And I know that our problems are not laws, but the enforcement of laws. But it is important to have the laws. Let's have them first. We have taken one step. The next step will be dealt with. Let's have laws that are harsh enough. Death sentence is something I love very much. I've always loved death sentences, particularly for issues like this, because politicians are murderers. They are mass murderers. When you loot, you siphon monies that should be meant for the development of the country or your constituency, you take it to fly to Dubai and have your good time with dozens of girls. That money was supposed to have fixed the roads. It leads to accidents that are fatal. The blood of those persons are on your head. So for me, politicians who embezzle money and public office holders in general who embezzle the public fund should be charged to court on the basis of murder. It doesn't matter whether they directly have killed somebody or not. They are culpable in the deaths you see in the country. So it's twofold, like I said, the issue of policing and the issue of corruption. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gabriel, I think I saw Senator Jarigwe joining.
Yes.
he has joined. Hello?
Yes, David, he's here. Yes, he is.
Yes, please, I would like to invite him to take the floor because I also know that he has a tight schedule. So, distinguished Senator, I welcome you. Good day. My name is David Etim. I'm the Deputy President of the Calabar Chamber of Commerce and the co-host of this interactive session. I would like to now invite you to take the floor, since you're the sitting senator for the senatorial district. You do have a track record. I would like you to tell us a little bit about what you've done as the sitting senator for your constituency and what you intend to do if given a second opportunity to serve your people, what you intend to do in your next legislative year or next legislative 4 years, as it would be. Well, Senator, I will invite you to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you all. Anyway, as a sitting senator, I've done quite a number of things. I'm less than, I'm about a year or so in the office. I got sworn in last year in September, on the 15th of September. I was in the House of Reps, you know, but the legislator is a legislator, a representative of the people at this level. The National Assembly is the National Assembly. It's just that between the Senate and the House of Reps, they said it's a wider scope. I used to represent the Ogoja-Ayala Federal Constituency in the House of Reps, but I now represent the Bassey of Manliko, Ogoja-Ayala Senatorial District, that is Cross River North. And I've done a number of things in just a year. Before then, I had done a needs assessment of, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah,
yes,
I'd actually done a needs assessment of what our people really require. The primary work of a legislator is actually to make laws for good governance and all of that. But as a senator, you also have to lobby for projects, lobby for other things to come to your senatorial district. And for me, I have projects in all of the 51 wards of the senatorial districts, from basic infrastructural amenities like water, electricity, roads, and other forms of empowerment for our people. It's as clear as crystals that we've done our best to improve on the standard of living of our people in terms of providing them with proper infrastructure. We have also equipped the medical centers, the primary medical facilities. We know our people are suffering a lot. Even basic medications are not found in all of the medical centers. The tertiary health facilities are non-functional. They don't even have equipment, basic equipment, not to talk of the tertiary, the primary health care institutions that are just there. So we try to fill in the gaps here and there because we see that the government in Cross River State has really failed our people. We do our best to make sure that our people have basic social amenities. We do for the people what they cannot do for themselves. And I think that's what governance should be all about, and not food on the table. So that's what we've been doing so far. And it is evident. You can go around in each of the wards. We have at least 2-3 projects. We've also renovated some schools, built some school blocks for them, because we discovered that some study under the trees and all of that. Our people are actually really suffering, and we are doing our best to make sure that we ameliorate their sufferings. Hello?
I'm with you. Well,
Yes.
Distinguished Senator, thank you very much for that introduction. Picking up, you said really that you have engaged in quite a few interventions, which really are interventions, because as you've defined it, that there is a bit of a gap between what the state is supposed to have done for its people and what you or what your people have told you they need, and you have been able to, attract interventions that have been able to bridge those gaps. Yes. So, well, that said, clearly, in my understanding, and like you've also introduced, that your primary duty as a legislator is not these interventions. That, yes. But you have extended yourself beyond your, as it were, your term of reference, because of the gaps you have found that the state government, in your opinion, has failed to bridge. Now, which leads me to a very strategic, an important question: the relationship between the legislators, be it at state or federal, and the state government. So the legislative arm of government, separation of powers, the legislative arm of government's responsibilities, the responsibilities of the legislator, and how those two should actually work in sync, and not one trying to, one crossing its primary area of jurisdiction into the other because of a gap or a failing of one. So be the executive trying to encroach on the responsibilities of the legislature, or by virtue of the failings of the executive or anything, the legislators also trying to, overreach into the areas of executive operations and actually discharging projects. Now, while I understand that these things happen, I would like you to address us on the issue, the importance of that synergy between the legislature and the executive for better government, so that it's not as if we are rubbing two metals together, but everybody's moving in sync like gears that are well oiled. I would like to just bring that. I would like you to, to bring that up. The ideal, how it should be. In life, things are not always how it should be, but how you think it should be. Where you would have a good relationship, a good working relationship. I don't know. I just would like you to address us on that.
Anyway, that yes. in an ideal situation,
yes,
there should be separation of power, and the legislative arm is actually an arm of government on its own. But there should be some synergy between the legislative arm and the executive arm. And I would say, taking Nigeria as a case study, I don't know what happens at the state level. I am actually at the national level, and then I will speak from this perspective. I see that there is some level of conviviality between the National Assembly and the executive arm right now. I think it's more so because, not necessarily because the National Assembly is a rubber stamp, but because the majority of the lawmakers are actually members of the ruling party, and they have some kind of understanding between the executive and the leadership of the National Assembly. And the leadership of the National Assembly is made of members of the ruling party. And even when those of us who are in the minority try to express some dissenting views on certain things that we think are not right, the majority is always having their way, and we can always have our say. But at times, when it's of national interest, we come together and make sure that the right thing is done. But we are not, there's no witch hunting involved in our carrying out our primary duties. All we do is that we make sure that what we support is to the interest of the larger country of Nigeria. That's all we try to do, and not because we are trying to contend with the executive or whatever. And I don't think the executive will also want to usurp our powers and arbitrarily do anything. If that is done, then we will also invoke our legislative powers and stop them from doing so.
Thank you very much. Thank you, distinguished Senator. I appreciate the fact that you recognize, and you have brought, not so much that you recognize it, but you have brought it to the awareness of the public that the relationship between the legislature and the executive is actually one that is a convivial one, okay, where there's conviviality between the agencies and there's collaboration. It's not to be seen as adversarial, where one is contending or competing with the other. Yes, there's politics, but it is to the limit of politics. Once we step outside of the politics, everybody comes together for the betterment of the people, because at the end of the day, it's all about the people. So I appreciate that, and I totally want to commend you for that, for recognizing that fact, because in this era of politics, where we are going to elections, the contention for political power makes some people at the grassroots, most especially, forget that it's a contest. So in the contest, people will, exercise their capacities or the things that give them the advantage to get ahead. But after that contest is over, everybody bridges the gap and we work on a bipartisan basis. So thank you very much for that.
If I may comment, there are a couple of questions that have been submitted. So I could put those to the senator and the other candidate who's on. So Senator, someone is asking here, how do you intend to make yourself accessible to your constituents? You have the benefit of being a serving senator, so you may want to comment on how accessible you are to your constituents at present, and going into the next tenure, should you win, how would you make yourself accessible to your constituents?
Thank you very much. I'm very, very accessible to my constituents. I pick the calls that I can afford to pick. And I also make myself available in the constituency, and I see everyone. I do not segregate. I do not stop people from coming into my compound, into my home. Once I get to Ogoja, where I live, in my senatorial district, my gates are wide open, and I receive everyone in my compound. On a normal day, I have at least 500, 600 people coming to my house every day. When I'm home, I make myself available. When I'm busy at work, I cannot pick all calls or return all of the calls, but I make myself available. I also have a constituency officer and I have coordinators that reach me with whatever my constituents want. So I do my best in that regard.
Okay, Senator, thanks very much. There's another question here that is, obviously this is supposed to be directed at all the candidates, but you happen to be a serving senator, so it's probably even more relevant to you. So the person is asking, Nigerian senators are the highest paid legislators in the world. How does this make you feel as a serving senator? I think,
well, I don't know where that statistics was.
I think what the person is trying to say is, in a country where the poverty levels are so high, and we're told that Nigerian senators are the highest earners, the highest earning legislators in the world, how does that make you feel? And do you think that's something that needs to be addressed?
Anyway, I don't think Nigerian senators are the highest paid in the world. I don't know where they got the statistics from, but I know what I earn, and I know very well that there are people who are not senators in this country that earn more than that. So it's rather a misconception.
Are you willing to disclose how much you earn, Senator?
Yes, I am willing to disclose.
The floor is yours.
Yes, my salary is 900,000 a month.
All right, Senator, thanks very much. I suppose that doesn't include the allowances and the other.
No, the other issues you are talking about running costs, and they are specific. And those things are retired in line with the provisions. They are not your money.
Okay, Senator. We have there are a couple of questions again that have been submitted. I think this one you would probably understand this more than any candidate on here. You know, someone is asking, what do you think the biggest challenges facing the people of the Northern Senatorial District are? And also the people of Cross River State, because you're a senator, not just representing your primary constituents at the Northern Senatorial District, you're a senator from Cross River State. What do you, in your view, what are the biggest challenges facing the district and the state?
Well, I think that the main challenge we have is actually bad governance. That's the main challenge, because the basic amenities are actually low-hanging fruits. And at this point, in our various communities, we do not have the basic amenities: water, light, schools, health care, none of that. Those are basic things that we should have, but we do not have. So it's just about bad governance. That's the major challenge.
Okay. Now, David, I think I'll hand over.
Okay, Senator, let's now start biting some hard bone. You said that bad governance is the problem. Now, government is one. So whether it's executive, speaking from the point of view of the citizenry, government is one. The executive, the legislature, the judiciary, they all come together to form government that impacts on the people. Now, when you say bad governance, are you now saying that the entirety of government is bad, which would then include even the legislature? So when you say bad governance, I would like you to break it down. I mean, somebody has raised the issue before you came in. The senator, the contending senator for SDP, had said that he has identified Nigeria's problem to be corruption. Now, and he says that he would like to propose a situation, if he got the seat, where the death penalty, like it exists in China, for when you're convicted of corruption, the death penalty is applied. He would then graduate it down. The higher up you are in government, the death penalty applied. The lower you get a death sentence, or when you are a much lower person, then it's a much lesser penalty. That said, when you say bad government, now bad government, everybody sees government as the executive, but we know that government is a combination of the three: the executive, the legislature, and all. When you say bad government, please drill down a little bit more for us. Bad government is too high. Let's bring it down. Break it down for us. Let's know what you mean by bad government, and how you think that going back to the Senate, you would be able to contribute to solving the issue of bad government in, firstly, your primary constituency, but because you are at the national level, the Nigeria as a whole. Thank you.
That's a good question. I've told you, we are talking about Cross River State and Cross River North, where I represent.
Yes.
That's what I'll come from that perspective. You see, just like I said before, I've provided certain basic amenities in the various wards of my senatorial district. from water, provided the medical facilities, the primary care centers with pharmaceutical drugs, with medical equipment, and all of that. I have also provided street lights for our various communities that used to be in darkness. I have made sure that the roads are accessible. The road to my village was almost inaccessible. We couldn't use the road where, you know, especially during the rainy season, people will be stuck here and there. But today, the road is tarred, properly asphalted. So many other roads in the Senatorial district too. So our people can take their goods to the markets. They can access healthcare. They can have good water. They can have light. They no more move in darkness and all of that. These are basic things. You can see that recently, because the governor wants to run for office, he has decided that he should start doing those things I have done before now. So I have actually shown him the path to follow. I think this is also an achievement. And that is what I intend to continue doing, so that people will learn to do the right thing for their people.
Okay.
Senator, there's a question that has been posted here. I suspect this is someone who is an ardent supporter. He says, "Distinguished sir, how have you managed to achieve so much in just 1 year as a senator, to the level of even surpassing most of your colleagues that have been there for 4 years and beyond? Is there anything other lawmakers listening need to learn from you?"
Well, I don't know what my other colleagues have done. Basically, I don't have the statistics of all of our achievements, but I think that in Cross River State per se, most of the legislators, most of the senators I can speak for, have done quite a lot in their various senatorial districts. So I am poised to delivering on my mandate, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm poised to doing that, and I'm doing my best to deliver on the mandate, and that's just the driving force.
Okay, distinguished senator, you've made mention of infrastructure, and both hard and soft. I would like to take you up. A topical issue in Nigeria today is the ASU strikes and that issue. Now, speaking from the point of view of a legislator, and it's legislator in the upper house, which is the Senate, how do you feel? What do you think should be, from a legislative angle, what do you think should be the approach to solving the problem of education in Nigeria? And what would you do as a senator, sitting senator, ranking senator now, if you were to go back, you'd be a ranking senator. And so what would be your agenda for education? Firstly, picking it up from your immediate constituency, how would you impact? How would you attract? I mean, Cross River State has a very high youth population and a very high unemployment level, about 35% at the last count, based on what Nigerian Bureau of Statistics has told us. So what would be your strategy, legislative strategy that is, in addressing the issue of education and dovetailing from education into healthcare? You said you've provided pharmaceuticals to healthcare centers within your senatorial district, but beyond the provision of medication, from a policy level, from a legislative angle, what do you think you would be able to do to add value to the healthcare mechanism in Nigeria, because you're at the federal level, and also that would then cascade down to your constituency and to your 51 wards? What would you do? Education, healthcare. How would you address these things from a legislative point of view? Thank you.
Yes, as a legislator, you know, you can only make laws and make sure that the provisions made in the budget, when it's time for coming up with the budget, you make sure that you influence the inclusion of basic projects in the budget for your senatorial district, for instance. And then you come up with bills too, for the establishment of certain infrastructure and all of that. We have establishment bills. For instance, I came up with the bill for the establishment of Federal University of Technology, Abuja. It went through the legislative processes and went through third reading and was sent to the president for assent. That disappeared. It never came back to us. I also came up with the bill for the establishment of a federal medical center. That's as it has to do with health. And a federal medical center in Ogoja. That bill was sent to the president for assent. It passed through the legislative processes and all of that. And it went to the president for assent. The president sought the advice of the Attorney General of the Federation, and it was supposed to be captured amongst other federal medical centers that were proposed for establishment. And that has come back to the National Assembly for that legislative process to be carried out, to merge it with other bills on the same subject matter. It has gone through and is waiting for concurrence of the Senate, and it will be sent back to the president for his assent. By these bills, you know, we will be able to establish federal institutions and federal tertiary health institutions in my senatorial district, and that will help the people. I've also encouraged education. I've paid bursaries several times. I just finished paying the last set of bursaries to our students and all of that. And you can see that immediately I paid the bursary for last year. The governor started sharing forms for scholarships. I've actually been his role model from all perspectives. And I've done my best to make sure that our people benefit from being in various offices. And I will appeal that the governor treats our people with empathy. So that's where we are.
Okay, distinguished senator. Well, the bill that you said went to the Senate, the president for assent and disappeared. What would be your strategy to revive that bill in your second coming as a senator? What would be your strategy? Because I think having such a strategic bill that just evaporated, I mean, you know, there has to be some mechanism that you plan to use to revive it and see how to move it forward on a bipartisan basis. I mean, we understand the issues that politics may from time to time interfere in good governance. But you know, on a bipartisan basis, what would you think would be your strategy now that you would be you're only 1 year in the Senate now, even though you are a ranking member of the legislature because you've been there for some time, but you're only 1 year in the Senate. But with what you've learned, how would you approach the reviving or the revisiting of that bill that is that you know got that has disappeared, to borrow your words, you know? Thank you.
Anyway, you know that there's so much politics involved in all of this, and that's why you say there must be a synergy between the legislative arm and the executive. If I had a proper governor that was willing to help our people and had the interest of our people at heart, that bill would not have gone the way it went at the level of the presidency. So I pray I have a proper governor, and that will synergize. Will synergize and make sure that they also join me in lobbying at the level of the presidency for such bills to go through. I will come again and try and push it and synergize with my governor in the state to make sure that we lobby properly. You know, when you have a governor that is not interested and doesn't want you to achieve anything because of the adverse effect it will have on him or as it concerns the politics, so many things go wrong. But when you synergize with your governor and you have a governor that is willing to serve the people, you'll be able to achieve so much. And I bet you that we have a proper governor, and I pray we have a proper governor in Senator Sandy Ono, who is also an educationist. We'll be able to work together and achieve a lot for our people.
Okay, Honorable Senator, a quick question. You've talked about the relationship between you and the next governor of Cross River State. Let's look at the relationship between you or the next senator and the president. The ANAP poll conducted by NOI polls suggested that Peter Obi is the front runner. We know there's a movement behind him, and he's obviously the Labour Party. How do you see yourself as a senator under the PDP and other senators within your party? How do you see yourselves working with a president of the Labour Party should the candidate of the Labour Party emerge as president?
Well, I will not deal with speculations. You get what I mean? I'll wait for the elections to come and go before we know. You can't know who is going to win any elections.
No, we appreciate that. Nobody knows, but I'm just saying, based on a poll that has been conducted, there's the possibility that the Labour Party candidate may be the president. So it's indeed a speculation, but it's one.
And I don't want to act based on speculations.
All right. Maybe we'll bring the question back to you when, if the candidate wins.
Distinguished Senator,
Yeah.
if I may just come in on this same point. The issue here is not about speculation. We had discussed earlier about the issue of bipartisan collaborations. And basically the question is just going back to ask the same question about your disposition to bipartisan collaboration towards delivering good governance.
I'm a Democrat. I'm a proper Democrat. I'm a proper Democrat. And since I can work with this government, I think I can work with any government.
You have answered the question.
Yes.
You have answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, if I may read some questions on the chat. Firstly, I want to apologize to Mr. Gabriel because it seems that as the senator, the sitting senator joined in, everything has just turned and faced him. But we are trying to drill down on him.
No, David, no, sorry, let me just correct that. So no, the reason why we've, Mr. Gabriel Abuashi dropped off and seems to have been having difficulty coming back on. So the focus on the senator is not simply because he's the incumbent.
Okay. I stand corrected. Thank you. Let's just read out some questions from the chat. Distinguished Senator, basically everyone knows you to be Mr. Projects and a leader that prioritizes his constituents' interests over selfish personal interests so far. What is your advice to incumbent leaders and emerging leaders from the Northern Senatorial districts to keep the district in limelight of good governance in the future? That's one. Then there's a second one. What has been your response to emergency situations in your senatorial district? And what will be your suggestion to a legislator for resolving recurring crisis / emergency issues? So these are two questions addressed to the sitting senator, I presume. If the others aspirants also come on board, we'll also ask the same questions to them. But since we have Senator Jarigbe, Agom Jarigbe here, we would like to start with you. Well, first you have Mr. Projects from the person's own opinion, but on the issue of security, and I believe I heard someone sent a message to me where there was some crisis between Benue and people within your constituency at some point, I think last week or so. I don't know how true that was, so it's to me a speculation, but just as a security situation, what would be your strategy in addressing such crises? Cross-border crises, internal, tribal, well, not tribal, but yeah, maybe village, maybe local government within. How would you tackle issues of security challenges from a legislative point of view? Thank you.
Okay, Senator, please, just before you answer the question, so just to say, we'll open this up for people who are on the conversation on the Zoom call to ask their questions, and we'll probably do that for another 5-10 minutes or so, and then I think we'll bring the program to an end. So if you have any question that you'd like to ask on Zoom, please use the reactions icon to indicate. We'll give you the opportunity to ask your question to the Senator. I think within about 10 minutes, I think we should bring this interactive session to a close. Thanks. Senator, over to you, please.
Okay, you know what the mandate of a legislator is. The Chief Security Officer of the state is the governor, and it is his duty to handle such situations. Our role is merely to advise and see how we can talk to our people to live in peace with one another, and engage with the senator from that senatorial district of the state of Benue State. And we've been talking. He has a convivial relationship with his governor. Mine is incurably bad, but that's the duty of the governor, to handle issues of security. At the local government level, the Chief Security Officer is the chairman of the local. That's if you have a competent one. And then at the level of the state, the Chief Security Officer is the governor. So, but on issues of other emergencies and interventions, I've had reasons to intervene in various emergency situations in my senatorial district, from when I was in the House of Reps to the most recent one of the cholera outbreak in Ukele. We decided that we should tackle the roots of the problem, which has to do with bad water. And I deployed some people there immediately to provide solar-powered borehole for that community, Mbora community. And I intend to visit the people when I get home next week.
Senator, we pray as your constituents, speaking for your constituents generally and cross-riverians, we pray that your relationship with the governor is not incurable. We pray that it will be cured, and it will be cured soon. Because when they say when two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers. So we pray that the grass does not suffer any longer. So, we all keep praying for that. So please, let's not say that your relationship is incurable. It's curable. It's the politics, yes, but it's definitely should be curable. Thank you.
Maybe after the 2023 elections.
We pray. No, we pray even before. We pray before. We pray before. We pray before. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. Well, the floor is open for any questions for those that are on the chat. And, we look forward to people from the Northern Senatorial District to ask the senator questions and to, we look forward to a situation whereby politics will become much more refined and your constituents will begin to hold people accountable. And that's the whole essence of this interaction, to be able to bring those that desire political office to speak and to keep it on record and hold them accountable. And from what your constituents say, I am not from the Northern Senatorial District, but from what we've read so far, you seem to be doing a good job because your people seem to believe in you, as someone called you Mr. Projects. So, congratulations for that, distinguished senator. But
thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful.
The floor is open, and please let's ask the questions, preferably hard-nosed questions, so that the senator goes back and reflects. After this, he takes a nice glass of cold water, knowing that his people are looking at him with microscope lenses. Thank you.
I also have to leave for some other engagement.
Yes, we are aware. We are aware. We are aware. We are aware.
Okay, so we've seen there's a hand up. Let me see. Let's try and do an unmuting.
Mr. Answer Bassey, please put on your camera so that we can see you as you address the distinguished senator. Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, Miss, it's a lady. Sorry. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
No worries. It's okay. I just wanted to ask, can I ask you, how do you assess the administration of Governor Ayade over the past 7 years?
Distinguished senator, that's your question. That's your question.
I should assess it.
Objectively.
It's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Not
It's neither
politically.
here nor there.
No, I was
Not
asking how
politically.
you personally assess it.
Who, me or the senator?
The senator, please.
Okay, okay, okay. Distinguished senator, please. Objectively, not politically, objectively. If you can divorce, exactly, please.
Objectively, I would say that my governor had very big dreams, but he has also found out that the dreams are mere fantasies at this point in time, and it's too late for him to correct them. It's a sorry situation. That's my take on it.
Objective.
Objectively.
Thank you.
Okay, Debbie, I think we'll just give, if there's one more question that someone has, otherwise I think we'll bring the interactive session to a close, if that's okay. So
that's fine.
If anyone has a question, please go ahead and ask it, otherwise, or indicate, and then we'll unmute you. Otherwise, we'll bring the session to a close. And Mrs. Edidio Bigwai would give us some announcements before we close.
Edidion, I think you should take the floor.
Okay, Edidion, can you please go ahead and give us the announcements so that we can bring the session to a close?
Unmute me.
You're muted, Edidion.
Yes, I just noticed. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to say thank you very much to all our guests, our candidates who were able to join, and those who made themselves available for today's interactive session. Thank you very much for I would say that your dreams, indeed, your agenda is quite lofty, and we look forward to your success in the forthcoming elections. Having said that, very quickly, this is the Cross River movement. We have brought to you Ask the Candidates, which is an interactive session with Cross River State candidates who are vying for elective positions at governorship level, senatorial level, and of course, at the House of Assemblies level. Our next session, we would notify our audience about what we'll be bringing next, and hopefully, we hope to have members who are candidates who are vying for House of Assembly on this session. And you can follow us to get more information and stay updated about what we do at the Cross River movement via our social media handles, which is for Facebook and Twitter, Cross River Move. And you can find out more about us on our website. Visit www.crossrivermove.com to get to know more about us. This program is also open for sponsorship. If you notice, we get to stream this broadcast this event on radio, which is which costs quite a lot. So we're open to sponsorship and partnership for you to not only support what we do, but to also showcase your business, your brand, and what have you. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in our subsequent meetings. Have a happy weekend.
Okay, Edidion, thank you. I'll just read out one comment because I think this is a particularly useful comment, and then I'll invite Mr. Johnson Eboko, who is of the Cross River Economic Summit Group, to just make very brief closing remarks. So someone, Michael, Adoga Michael is asking, where is Ayade? We, the people of Cross River North, will vote him out since we are too small for him to speak to us. So that's quite an interesting comment. Johnson Eboko, please, in 1 minute, just.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I want to specifically thank the organizers of this, the Cross River movement, and also to applaud the senatorial candidates who have made out time to attend this event. I call it a major event in my mind. Senator Jarigbe and Mr. Gabriel Abushe. What I'd just like to add is in the course of the next line of legislating business, I beg that the senators take a good look at the kind of leverage they have in their senatorial district, especially around agriculture. I know that the bulk of what they are doing to do is to make laws, but like the moderator had said, there's always room for collaboration. So the idea is that they should look for ways to support smallholder farmers across value chains. In whatever way you can support them will go a long way to adding to whatever the executive will do, both at the state and at the national level. Thank you.
Johnson Ebobo, thank you very much. So on this note, we'll bring this interactive session to a close. Just to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us and to all our partners for supporting us in delivering this. We'll stay in touch with you. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of the day.